The excitement to host FIFA matches is building, but so is the worry about the strain on our healthcare system. Hear those concerns this hour.
A North York townhouse riddled with bullets, leaving a man in his 20s critically injured. We are following the very latest from the scene near Jane and Steeles.
Well, the latest on $2 million worth of luxury cars stolen from a dealership in Oakville. 2 suspects now arrested. Those details coming up.
This is Live at 5.
Good evening. I'm Bakari Savage.
And I'm Phil Perkins. You're watching Live at 5. Well, the FIFA World Cup is front and center today at City Hall. This comes as doctors are warning that the event could cause even further strain on the healthcare system.
CP24's Melissa Duggan joins us live from City Hall. Melissa.
Hey there, Bakari and Phil. So as you explained there, a couple of things happening today when it comes to FIFA. There was this subcommittee meeting happening at City Hall, city councilors getting together, just kind of going through their to-do list. What needs to be taken care of before some hundreds of thousands of people come to town? This major international event, 6 FIFA World Cup games being played here in Toronto starting in June. And then also we're hearing about health concerns. What happens when all those people come to town? How is that going to overburden perhaps our already strained healthcare system? That's the concern that we're hearing about today. In an editorial in the Canadian Medical Association Journal, an emergency physician here in Toronto, Dr. Catherine Warner, she's sharing her concerns in this editorial and also with us here on CP24. Here's some of what she has to say.
The concern, though, is if you had what we call like an external disaster. So like the tragic event that happened in Vancouver last year at the Lapu Festival, and the need to see many critically ill patients quickly, that is what we're calling for, to make sure that there's surge capacity in the system to treat patients in hospitals if needed.
Now, it's not just that kind of surprise scenario that she's concerned about. She's also pointing to some real life experiences that we've had recently. I think the World Series back in the fall. She says during Game 1 and Game 7 of the World Series hosted here in Toronto, that emergency rooms saw an influx of patients dealing with trauma, dealing with injuries related to alcohol consumption. And she says that it gives her chills just thinking about an emergency room that's already at 100% capacity. How can they handle even more patients on top of that? We got some reaction on these concerns today from Premier Doug Ford. Here's what he has to say.
We're doing everything we can to enhance the healthcare system. You talk to our finance minister, every time I see him, first words out of his mouth, do you know how much we're spending on healthcare? And I say, well, we're investing in healthcare, but it's good to have Minister Bethenfalvey always watching the bottom line, and he's doing his job, and we're going to continue driving efficiencies, primary care, $2.1 billion. I appreciate Dr. Jane Philpott, the job she's doing. Obviously, my champion is Sylvia Jones. So we're going to continue making sure that we deliver great health care at convenient locations for the people of Ontario.
As for the city councillors we talked to today about these concerns, they are pointing to the province, not just when it comes to healthcare, but also when it comes to funding FIFA. The price tag for hosting these 6 games pegged at about $380 million. That's shared at the municipal level, the provincial levels, and with the feds. But they say that the province still needs to dot some I's, cross some T's to be able to get that money here to the city, money that city councillors say that they need to see on the table right now. As for getting back to this healthcare concern, what we're hearing from Dr. Varner as well is that she says that increased monitoring needs to happen when it comes to the spread of diseases internationally, making sure we're aware of that picture before all these international visitors come to town. And something kind of interesting, Toronto Public Health already planning to monitor wastewater here in the city, just to get an idea during FIFA World Cup about the pathogens that might be coming to our city that are spreading around the world, what kind of impact they might have here. Bakari and Phil, back to you.
Okay, live from City Hall, CP24's Melissa Duggan. Well, the city's declaration of a significant weather event following last week's major snowstorm is now ended.
Yeah, snow removal continues in high priority locations across the city, but parking no longer prohibited on designated snow routes. Drivers must still pay attention to temporary orange no parking, snow removal signs, or risk being towed. These signs mean that crews will be removing the snow from these areas within 24 hours of the sign being posted. The City of Toronto continues to accept 311 service requests for snow cleanup.
And 2 surge warming centers at Jamie Simpson Recreation Center, Cecil Community Center, they're going to reopen this evening due to the extreme cold temperatures. The 5 other sites remain open for those in need of a warm place to spend the night. And these sites will remain open when temperatures dip below -5 degrees.
All right, it's 5:05. Let's take a look at the PM commute. Here's Agro Tiabla. How's it looking?
Ooh, it's looking slow, Phil. I've been watching a problem on the 401 westbound. This is you try to get into Scarborough, westbound 401 through Port Union, and the transfers just at Port Union. It's the 2 right lanes that are blocked in the transfers following this collision. The good news, not seeing too much of a delay because there's still access to the express and the collector lanes. And then if your travels take you to the DVP, this issue is impacting the drive. So southbound on the Don Valley Parkway, just as you make your way through Lawrence, it is a stalled garbage truck, does have the right lane blocks, which is backing up the drive on the approach. Rest of the DVP pretty busy in either direction, but no other problems to pass along. And if you're using the Gardner, quite slow exiting the downtown core. The delays start from York Bay Yonge and they continue all the way out towards about rural York. On city streets, still getting word of a very serious collision in Brampton. Steeles westbound is closed both ways between Tate and McLaughlin following this ongoing crash.
This CP24 traffic report is brought to you by 407 ETR. Enjoy the journey with a stress-free commute.
Well, good afternoon, Samantha. Just sending it over to TTC Control Center. Just wondering, is there issues happening on TTC line 1? We're getting word of that.
Yes, Adwas, we are actually experiencing some delays along our line 2. When you're headed eastbound between Ossington and Yonge stations, while our crews work on fixing a signal issue that's going on at our Spadina station. So if you are traveling, make sure to leave yourself some extra time. It's about a 5 to 10 minute delay through the area. Now, looking at service later tonight, we do have a planned subway closure on the portion of line 1 starting at 11 p.m. between Finch and Eglinton stations for tunnel work. Shuttle buses will run with regular service set to resume tomorrow morning at 6 a.m. And that's it for us. Back to you.
Okay, thanks a lot, Samantha TC with the TTC Transit Control Center, CU Communications. Okay, 2 people, they've been hospitalized following a crash in Brampton, which happened shortly before 2:15 this afternoon on Steeles at Windmill Boulevard near McLaughlin. And Peel paramedics say 2 people, both adults, they are in serious condition. The cause is still being investigated.
And a man was critically injured tonight after being shot at a community housing building in North York. CTV's John Musselman has been at the scene all day. What do we know thus far, John?
Well, Phil, we're at 31 Division where we got an update from police today about what happened there. We did go to the townhouse complex this afternoon, and what we saw was that a front door of one of the units was just riddled with bullet holes. A neighbor told us she heard between 12 and 14 shots ring out, striking the front door of that unit. Now, police tell us a man in his 20s was rushed to hospital in critical condition. He remains in life-threatening condition, we're told. The neighbor told me that when police arrived with weapons drawn, the door was finally open and she saw the victim lying on the ground inside the entranceway of that unit. Now, police are still trying to piece this together. They're appealing for witnesses. We had a chance to speak to police here at 31 Division. Here's what they told us earlier today.
Not going to lie to you, we get very upset when this happens in our neighborhoods. Our neighborhood officers take it very personally when this happens. So, we'll be out really to do whatever we can to provide some community safety and well-being to our residents.
So Phil and Bakari, we can tell you there are a number of security cameras attached to that building. This is a Toronto community housing complex. Investigators say they'll be going over that footage in hopes of trying to identify the suspects. We know of at least 2 suspects involved here, and they fled in a dark colored sedan, but that's about all the information police have at this time. Reporting live, I'm John Musselman. I'll send it back to you.
Okay, live in North York, CTV's John Musselman. Well, police are looking for a suspect after a stabbing. This happened at a restaurant hotel near the airport. It was overnight. This is in the area of Islington and the 401, right around 2 o'clock in the morning. Police say that the victim in his 60s was taken to hospital with serious injuries. There's no suspect description at this time. The investigation is ongoing, and anyone with information, you're asked to contact police.
And a Markham man is facing stalking-related charges for alleged incidents back during the Pan Am Center. A 54-year-old Luigi Kong has been arrested for criminal harassment. Police say someone repeatedly called out the victim's name while they entered the Pan Am Center last Monday afternoon. They also say that Kong was seen in the stands of the facility's swim area. Investigators say that he is accused of repeatedly attending the victim's swim practices over the last several months. Police have released Kong's photo with hopes that more witnesses come forward.
Well, 2 suspects are facing charges in a multi-million-dollar auto theft investigation in Oakville. So security video obtained by CTV News shows as many as 8 suspects breaking through a glass door to get into the showroom and then prying open a lockbox before making off with 8 vehicles. 5 have since been recovered. 2 of the suspects were arrested in Peel Region. They've been charged with break and enter and disguise with intent. Investigators are continuing to search for the outstanding vehicles and suspects. Anyone with information, you're asked to contact police.
It's 5:10, feels like minus 20. You're watching Live at 5.
And still to come, an officer shot during a mental health call in Oshawa, along with the suspect. CP24's crime analyst Steve Ryan has an update on how they're doing and the investigation.
Welcome back. Questions remain regarding how a Durham Regional Police officer suffered a gunshot wound during a confrontation in Oshawa.
Okay, CP24's crime analyst Steve Ryan joins us live from Durham Police Headquarters. Okay, Steve, a couple questions. One, how's the officer doing and what's going on with this investigation?
So the officer and the man that was in crisis, who the SIU alleged was shot by police, are both in a stable condition. So I mentioned the SIU because the SIU are mandated to investigate the actions of a police officer when those actions cause grievous bodily harm or death to another person. That includes a member of the public, and it includes other police officers. And here's why this is important. The SIU tell us that yesterday at 11 a.m., several officers responded to a call for a man in crisis in Oshawa. The man is believed to have had a knife with him. The SIU then say that one officer discharged their service pistol several times, striking the man in crisis, and one of those bullets struck another officer. So one of 2 things have happened here. That other officer was caught in the middle of a crossfire, or there was a ricocheted bullet that struck that officer. So this is now a matter of not intent, but is there any criminal liability when it comes to the actions of the police officer? And the police are authorized in law to use as much force as deemed necessary to prevent the threat of imminent bodily harm or death. So the SIU has 2 jobs here. Number 1, to investigate the actions of the officer to see if, in fact, they were covered in law to use the force that they used in shooting this man in crisis. And number 2, was there any criminal liability? Not intent, but criminal liability when that service pistol was discharged and it struck the second officer. This just goes to show you guys just how dangerous police work is. The police stress in their firearms training all the time about being aware of the potential crossfire or ricocheted bullets. But all that training in the world certainly does not mean that nothing is going to go wrong, especially when you're in a situation that could be life or death. There's lots going on. There's a lot of things happening very dynamically, very fluidly. And this goes to show you just how dangerous policing can be and how things can go from 0 to 100 just like that. So the SIU now has their investigation to, again, judge the actions of this officer when it comes to shooting the man in crisis. And how did that second officer get hit with a bullet? Both questions will be answered as the SIU continue with their investigation. But once again, it just highlights the dangers of police work. When you go to a call, you just never know what's going to happen. Back to you guys.
Okay, live from Durham Police Headquarters, CP24's crime analyst Steve Ryan. It's 5:15 minus 9. This is Live at 5.
Coming up, a closer look at the state of the mental health in this city, including a troubling new report released on Blue Monday. Spoiler alert, not great.
A new mental health study is highlighting a big drop in the number of Torontonians who said that they were doing well before and during the pandemic.
Yikes. The report finds that the percentage of people who describe their mental health as very good or excellent fell from 73% in 2015 to 52% in 2022. It was released by Thrive TL in partnership with the Canadian Mental Health Association, CAMH, and the city. Some experts describe the drops as unprecedented.
Our mental health was declining before COVID. COVID certainly accelerated it, but it's not like our mental health has improved as COVID has waned. So COVID is not the whole story. And the things that we do know is that our lives have become more stressful. And that stress is causing us mental health issues. And those stresses are financial stresses. Those stresses are workplace stresses. Those stresses are affordability.
A Toronto medical officer of health, Dr. Michelle Murty, says that social media is another factor that can have a major impact on people's mental health.
We're certainly concerned about the levels of social media use across all ages, but particularly amongst young people in terms of how are they using that. For a long time during that pandemic, we told people that the best thing they could do is stay at home. And for a lot of people, that meant being online for a long time. So we heard that, this was a good thing. And now to shift that to say, no, we don't want people online. And certainly, obviously, people have to be online and on screens for their work and their school. But how do we get back to re-engaging in a more positive, interactive way?
And the full report's available at CP24.com.
And with that, if you're not feeling very inspired today, you may be interested to hear that this is Blue Monday. Mondays normally aren't great, but this one in particular has its own name. There's actually no real science behind it. It was created by a UK psychologist in 2005 for a travel agency. He determined that the third Monday in January was the saddest day of the year because of the weather, holiday bills coming in, and failing New Year's resolutions. Now, regardless of the day's origins, if you're battling the winter blues, health professionals suggest supporting your overall wellness by being more active and social. They also advise those who are really struggling to reach out to the family doctor or a counseling program.
And Premier Doug Ford blasted the federal government's deal to lower tariffs on Chinese electric vehicles during his speech to the Rural Ontario Municipal Association conference today, saying that it's going to hurt the auto industry.
I'm extremely, and I say extremely, disappointed by this decision, which will directly impact our auto workers and the supply chains that support them, including many rural areas. I've made my position very clear to the Prime Minister, and I'm doing so again today, because we need to be doing everything we can to support our auto workers. The federal government needs to step up by removing its EV mandate, harmonizing regulations with our trading partners, and scrapping unnecessary fees that drive away investments.
Prime Minister Carney has said that Chinese EVs will account for around 3% of the Canadian market.
Well, speaking of the Prime Minister, he has arrived in Davos, Switzerland for the World Economic Forum. The Prime Minister is among world and corporate leaders trying to drum up more investments in Canada. Donald Trump is also expected to speak in Davos this week. Prime Minister Carney is on the final leg of an international trip that saw stops in China and Qatar. And U.S. President Donald Trump has penned a letter to Norway's Prime Minister suggesting that his plan to take over Greenland is the result of him not being awarded the Nobel Peace Prize.
Okay, so in the letter, Trump claims he has stopped 8 wars plus, and since he was snubbed for the award, he no longer feels an obligation to think purely of peace. The letter goes on to say that the world is not secure unless the U.S. has complete and total control of Greenland. Well, Norway's Prime Minister says his position is clear. Greenland is part of the Kingdom of Denmark. A statement goes on to read, quote, "We also support that NATO, in a responsible way, is taking steps to strengthen security and stability in the Arctic." As regards the Nobel Peace Prize, I've clearly explained, including to the President Trump, what is well known. The prize is awarded by an independent Nobel committee and not the Norwegian government.
Now, many have been, Canada may be sending troops to Greenland. A senior federal government source telling CTV News that Ottawa is considering deploying a small number of soldiers to the island to participate in training exercises. No final decisions have been made yet. The development comes after several European nations sent troops to the territory for a mission aimed at bolstering Arctic security as President Trump's stance on U.S. control of Greenland becomes even more aggressive.
The nations have sent there. They've only sent like 10 soldiers. I mean, it's posturing. It's just a political statement that they put their country's flag on the ground, and they're just there just to, quite frankly, camp out for a while. It's just to show the Americans that you can't push around a NATO ally, and threaten to take over a country against their will. And I think that's the same thing for the Canada. It would be just a statement of political resolve for NATO that you can't do this.
Alliances endure because they're built on respect and partnership, not pressure. That is why I said the use of tariffs against allies is completely wrong.
UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer also speaking out about Greenland security this morning and the importance of constructive communication with the U.S. Well, Trump continues to insist that Greenland is critical for U.S. security. In a post online last night, he wrote, quote, NATO has been telling Denmark for 20 years to get the Russian threat away from Greenland. Unfortunately, Denmark has been unable to do anything about it. Now it is time, and it will be done.
It's 5:24 right now. Feels like minus 20, but sunny. Watching live at 5.
Well, after the break, 2 stars of Wicked are working together again. We're going to have more on that new project next.
Welcome back. A pair of stars from the movie Wicked will be reunited on stage for another musical.
It's just life, so keep dancing through.
Ariana Grande and Jonathan Bailey are set to star in the production of Sunday at the Park with George. They teased the news with a photo on social media. It shows them sitting in front of the painting that plays a central role in the story. Tickets go on sale this spring ahead of the show's run in London next summer.
All right, we are bringing our newsroom to a community near you. CP24 is on the road again this upcoming Wednesday, live from the Ability Center in Whitby for a special edition of Live at 5. We want to see Whitby through your eyes. Email your images of Whitby to breakingnews@cp24.com, or you see the QR code right there on your screen. You can use that. Your picture could be part of our live broadcast. Live at 5, close to home, Whitby.
It's going to be you and me.
At 5 o'clock. Yeah, that's right.
It's going to be crazy.
Wednesday, 5 o'clock, 2 days.
Writing it down, putting it in my calendar now, just to prepare. So. If you have baked goods, I said, if they have baked goods, bring it.
Because it would be kind of awkward if you didn't show up.
That'd be weird. That'd be weird. That'd be strange. It'd be a one-man show. No, we're here. We're a tag team deal. It is 5:28. Feels like minus 20 watching Live at 5.
And we're following the latest developments. This is from City Hall, where plans for the FIFA World Cup have been up for discussion, as well as concerns over healthcare capacity. That story and more coming up on CP24 Live at 5.
A North York townhouse riddled with bullets, leaving a man in his 20s critically injured. We are following the very latest from the scenes near Jane and Steeles.
An officer shot during a mental health call in Oshawa along with the suspect. CP24's crime analyst Steve Ryan has an update on how they are doing, as well as the investigation.
And the excitement to host FIFA matches is building, but so is the worry about the strain on our healthcare system. Hear those concerns from City Hall this hour.
This is Live at 5.
Good evening, I'm Phil Perkins.
I'm Bakari Savage. Welcome to Live at 5. Well, questions remain regarding how a Durham police officer suffered a gunshot wound during a confrontation in Oshawa.
CP24's crime analyst Steve Ryan joins us live from outside Durham Police Headquarters with the latest. Steve.
Yeah, Phil and Bakari, I am told that both the man that was in crisis that was shot by police and the officer that was hit by a bullet are both in stable condition. I was just told that the officer is still in critical but stable condition. So here's what we know according to the Special Investigations Unit. They have invoked their mandate, and of course they invoke their mandate when there is an interaction between a police officer and a member of the public or another police officer, and somebody suffers serious bodily harm and or death. And the police are authorized in law to use as much force as is deemed necessary if they are met with the threat of imminent bodily harm or death to themselves or to someone else. And this is why all of this is important. The SIU tell us that yesterday at 11 a.m., several uniformed officers responded to an address in Oshawa regarding a man in crisis, and he was said to have had a knife with him. The SIU released a statement saying that one officer discharged their service pistol multiple times, striking the man in crisis, and one of the bullets struck another officer. So only one of two things are possible. That other officer was caught in the middle of a crossfire, or there was a ricochet. And despite the immense training that police officers get when it comes to recognizing the hazards and potential dangers of being caught in crossfire, or recognizing the possibility of ricocheting bullets, policing is very dangerous. And oftentimes this goes to show you that things can go from 0 to 100 at the blink of an eye. And this appears to what has happened in this case. So the SIU now will have two things to determine. Number one, was the police officer who discharged a service pistol authorized in law to shoot that man in crisis who had a knife? And is there any criminal liability when it comes to that second officer that was hit by a bullet? It doesn't have to be intentional. There has to be criminal liability. But regardless of what the outcome is, again, it just demonstrates the dangers of policing and what can happen when you put that uniform on every day, put a gun on your hip, you go to a call, and despite the high-quality training that police officers get, sometimes bad things happen, unfortunately. So back to you guys.
All right, Steve Ryan, outside Durham Regional Police Headquarters. Thanks so much for that update. Now let's go to Toronto. A man is critically injured after being shot at a Toronto community housing building in North York.
And CTV's John Musselman has been at the scene all day, joining us with the very latest. John.
Well, Bakari, we're at 31 Division here in North York. We got an update from police about this shooting. We also went to the townhouse complex today. It's near Jane and Steeles. We did see the front door of the unit. It was riddled with bullet holes. A neighbor telling us they heard between 12 and 14 gunshots ring out. Now, she says that after police arrived and that front door was open, she saw the victim lying at the entranceway of the door inside the townhouse unit. Now, police are still working to piece this together. We know of at least two suspects who fled the townhouse complex in a dark-colored sedan. There are security cameras at that building. It's with the Toronto Community Housing Complex, so they'll be going over that footage in hopes of identifying the suspects. Here's what police had to tell us earlier today.
We've got officers that are canvassing the area right now, and this is having you here with this media scrum is a huge benefit to us as well, to help us find any witnesses that may have been in the area, that may have some footage, may have some dash cam footage. Please, we would ask everybody to check your cameras, the doorbell cameras, any security cameras. But in addition, we're also working very closely with our partners at the Toronto Community Housing Corporation. They've got a lot of cameras as well.
And there's a heavy police presence in the neighborhood today as they were canvassing neighbors for any information about what happened here. Again, if you're concerned about your safety, but you have information, you can always call Crime Stoppers and do it anonymously. Reporting live at 31 Division, I'm John Musselman. I'll send it back to you.
Thank you very much, John. Okay, it's 5:35 right now. Let's take a look at your drive home. Adra, how is it? Slow,
well,
you said?
Still slow, and a couple of problems on the go. See what I did there, Phil? I rhymed. If you're making your way out, though, not a smile on your face. If you're on the 401 westbound, traveling in the transfer lanes, this is just through Port Union. Crews still on scene of this collision. That does have the two right lanes blocked. Again, not seeing too much of a delay in terms of this problem. We are dealing with problems, not really creating a delay, but worth a mention. This is the eastbound 401 in the Express, just on the approach to Mavis. Right lane and shoulder is blocked. That is following a stalled vehicle. Also problems on the eastbound 401 near Meadowvale. Not the clearest camera, but this is the eastbound 401 through Meadowvale in the collector lanes. It looks like the center lane is blocked. That is following a stall. Gardner's pretty busy into and out of the downtown core, jammed actually. No issues to pass along. And once you get onto the QEW, you'll be putting on the brakes. Niagara bound as you make your way in towards Mississauga, Oakville, and as you travel in towards Burlington. A reminder in Brampton, we are still dealing with the closure of westbound steel shutdown between Tate and McLaughlin following an ongoing collision. I'm going to send it over to Samantha now at TTC Control Center. Samantha, just getting word and hearing that there are issues, more issues on TTC line 2?
Thanks, Adra. So we do continue to experience a delay on our line 2 when you're headed eastbound between Ossington and Yonge stations, while our crews deal with a signal issue at the Spadina station. So if you are traveling in that area, it'll take you about 5 minutes of extra travel time when headed eastbound. Now, just as a reminder for service tonight, we do have a planned subway closure on the portion of line 1 between Finch and Eglinton stations for tunnel work. Now, shuttle buses will run with regular service resuming tomorrow morning at 6 a.m. Now that's it for us, and back to you.
Okay, joining us live from the TTC Transit Control Center, Samantha TC. Thanks a lot. Well, 2 people have been hospitalized following a crash in Brampton.
Yeah, it happened shortly before 2:15 this afternoon on Steeles and Windmill Boulevard near McLaughlin. Field paramedics say 2 people, both adults, are in serious condition. The cause of the crash is being investigated.
And a Markham man's facing stalking-related charges for an alleged incident, well, multiple of them, at the Pan Am Center.
54-year-old Luigi Kong has been arrested for criminal harassment. Police say someone repeatedly called out the victim's name while they entered the Pan Am Center last Monday afternoon. They also say that Kong was seen in the stands of the facility's swim area. Investigators say that he is accused of repeatedly attending the victim's swim practices over several months. Police have released his photo with hopes that more witnesses will come forward. And 2 suspects are facing charges in a multi-million-dollar auto theft investigation in Oakville.
A security video obtained by CTV News that shows as many as 8 suspects breaking through a glass door to get into the showroom and then prying open a lockbox before making off with 8 vehicles. 5 have since been recovered. 2 of the suspects were arrested in Peel Region, and they've been charged with break and enter and disguise with intent. So investigators are continuing to search for the outstanding vehicles and suspects. Anyone with information, you ask to contact police.
5:38 feels like -20. Watching live at 5.
The city's significant weather event declaration, it has ended as cleanup efforts continue. Plus, Toronto Police now providing an update on how many storm-related parking tickets have been issued. We're going to have that number for you next. Well, the FIFA World Cup is front and center today at City Hall. This comes as doctors warn that the event could cause even further strain on the healthcare system.
Yeah, to explain a little bit more, CP24's Melissa Duggan joins us from inside City Hall with the latest. Melissa.
Yeah, so Phil, some perspective that we're getting today is coming from an emergency physician, Dr. Catherine Warner, who's writing an article in the Canadian Medical Association Journal and really just outlining her concern here. She talks about going into an emergency room right now that might be at 100% capacity and picturing what that situation is going to be like when you see the influx of thousands and thousands and thousands of visitors to our city for the FIFA World Cup. Of course, Toronto hosting 6 games beginning in June. She says, can our already strained healthcare system handle this influx of visitors? Here's some of what she has to say.
We see in any number of sporting events or mass gathering events where you'll have more trauma in hospital as well as more alcohol or substance-related visits to emergency department utilization. Those are things we saw in Game 1 and Game 7, of course, in downtown Toronto when I was working. Saw a lot of head injuries related to booze-related incidents, and not so much in the stadiums themselves, but what's happening in the city as people are celebrating.
So kind of a real-life example that she points to there, of course, within recent memory during the World Series, Vancouver also hosting games. We're hearing from a director of Vancouver's infectious diseases department who says back in 2010, they had a real life example too. That was when the city hosted the Olympic Winter Games. That city is seeing a rise in the number of measles cases that the city recorded during that time. And of course, now in 2026, we're seeing a drop when it comes to measles vaccines, that uptake. So what kind of spread could we possibly see when it comes to diseases like that? We put some of these questions today to city councillors as they were gathering for a FIFA subcommittee meeting. Of course, they're pointing to the province as their kind of jurisdiction when it comes to healthcare, but they did have some feedback to share as well. Have a listen.
I would hope that all 3 levels of government, in particular the provincial government that's in charge of healthcare in this province, that when they're figuring out all the costs and the dynamics around FIFA, that they would be able to figure out, or they better be able to figure out, what a possible influx of patients could mean to our healthcare system.
Managing a significant influx of people in a city our size is always a concern. Of course, I'm really proud to sit on the Toronto Police Services Board. There's a lot of preparation work that's happening there and has been happening for quite some time. We're well equipped, well resourced on that end. But of course, again, that's not the only aspect of public safety, mobility, healthcare, all of those pieces that fall outside of the city purview need to also be tight and organized. I know we're ready to go on our end, but again, we really are looking to our partners to be at the table and be ready to go as well.
This discussion today also just pointing to the extensive planning that has to be done to host a major event like the FIFA World Cup. We are getting some response from Premier Doug Ford today about this discussion as well. He says that his government is doing everything it can to enhance healthcare within our province. Back to you.
Okay, live from City Hall, CP24's Melissa Duggan. Now, the city's declaration of a significant weather event following last week's major snowstorm has now ended.
Now, snow removal continues in high-priority locations across the city, but parking no longer prohibited on designated snow routes. Toronto police say more than 10,300 tickets were issued for illegal parking during this period. It was just since last Thursday. The fines were up to $500 and also required drivers to pay for their vehicles to be towed. Drivers must still pay attention, though, to those temporary orange no parking snow removal signs or risk being towed. These signs mean that crews will be removing the snow from these areas within 24 hours of the sign being posted.
Well, two surge warming centers, Jimmy Simpson Recreation Center and Cecil Community Center, will reopen. That's at this evening due to extreme cold temperatures. Now, the 5 other sites remain open for those in need of a warm place to spend the night. These sites will remain open when temperatures dip below -5 degrees.
And Environment Canada is out with its forecast for 2026 and says this year could rival some of the hottest on record.
Yeah, scientists say that global average temperatures are expected to be around 1.4 degrees warmer than the pre-industrial averages. That would be behind the record-breaking warmth of 2024, but in the same range as the next 2 hottest years, which came in 2023 and 2025. So modeling suggests that the 5-year stretch starting this year will be the warmest ever recorded. Now, temperatures are rising steadily due to climate change, and Canada is warming at more than twice the global rate.
5:45 feels like -20. You're watching Live at 5.
More news straight ahead. Stay with us.
Welcome back. Hundreds of residents evacuated from a Northern Ontario First Nation are now living out of hotels in several cities, including Niagara Falls.
No showers. We can't drink the water, not even the filtered. I was making juice, right? And I got sick. Everybody got sick. Everybody's still sick.
It's an awful experience. It's a scary thing. This one is more like a shocker to me because it's a sudden thing.
State of emergency was declared in Saskatchewan on January 4th after its water treatment plant failed. Sewage started seeping into homes and contaminating fresh water systems. About 400 people are still in the fly-in community, while about 1,800 others have been relocated to hotels. Indigenous Service Canada has hired a water and wastewater management company to fix the issue.
And the Ontario Liberal Caucus has named John Fraser as their pick for interim leader. This is a role that he is poised to hold for a 3rd time. So Riding Association president and executive council still have to vote on that choice, but the Ontario Liberal Party president told members that vote would happen in the coming days. The party has also set February 9th as the deadline for leadership race dates, details, and voting information.
And December's inflation numbers are in. Stats Canada says the annual pace of inflation actually ticked higher to 2.4% in December, up from 2.2% the month before. The agency says the rebound from the federal government's tax holiday in 2024 pushed prices up. However, the data also shows that closely watched core measures of inflation cooled for the 3rd straight month. Here in Toronto, inflation hit 1.8%, up from 1.6% in November. BNN Bloomberg, Lindsay Biscaya spoke to us about the latest inflation numbers.
And it's interesting when you look at where we're seeing the rise here, and it's particularly in food prices, restaurant meals, groceries, that drove the number higher. There's an 8.5 annual increase in the price of restaurant meals. So if you go out for dinner, you're seeing an 8.5 increase. Grocery store food rose 5% annually. If you're looking specifically, like the price of coffee, for example, is up more than 30%. For the month of December, fresh and frozen beef prices rose more than 16%. So we're seeing those numbers going up.
And the December inflation figures that will be the Bank Canada's last look at price data before its first interest rate decision of the year next week.
A new survey shows Canadian business confidence remains subdued amid trade tensions with the U.S. The Bank of Canada's 4th quarter outlook found trade-related uncertainty and the economic effects of tariffs continue to weigh on companies. The report says businesses reported weak growth over the past 12 months. 1/3 cited a decline in sales volumes. Only modest growth is expected in the year ahead. Now, the share planning for a recession eased from 33% to 22%, but 21% of firms say they plan to cut workers, which is the highest level since 2016.
And with that, thousands more workers across the federal public service have received notices that their jobs may be cut. 3,600 workers across the Public Service Alliance of Canada and the Professional Institute of the Public Service received notices in the last week. The Canadian Association of Professional Employees says almost 3,000 members have been given notices since the federal budget was released in November. Workforce adjustment notices tell employees their jobs may be impacted by cuts, but it's still unclear how many of those who received the notice will actually be laid off.
It's 5:52, 9 below zero. This is Live at 5.
After the break, a wish fulfilled thanks in part to the Toronto Maple Leafs. More on an incredible morning for one young fan. Welcome back. The NBA has announced the starting players for next month's All-Star game. Luka Doncic receiving more votes than any other player in either conference. He'll be joined in the West by Hamilton's own Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Steph Curry, Nikola Jokic, Victor Wembanyama. And for the East, it'll be Giannis Antetokounmpo, Jalen Brunson, Tyrese Maxey, Cade Cunningham, and Jaylen Brown. For the first time, though, in 21 years, LeBron James won't be starting. This year's format has changed. There will be 3 teams, 2 comprised of American players, 1 of international stars, competing in a round-robin tournament of 4 12-minute games.
Well, the Bills have fired head coach Sean McDermott. The move comes after Buffalo's season ended with a 33-30 overtime loss in Denver on Saturday. McDermott went 98-50 in the regular season in his 9 years with the Bills and 8-8 in the playoffs. General Manager Brandon Beane has been retained and will lead the search for a new coach.
Buffalo has talent, great offensive line. They have James Cook, and there was some mistakes made by Josh Allen. I don't know why he didn't kneel at the end of the first half. How much of that goes on to Sean McDermott? But the issues here are bigger than just the coach. And ironically, Buffalo now becomes the #1 target for every head coach. That's the #1 place you want to be, because now you get to go in and coach Josh Allen, who's 29 years old. Most of the other jobs have massive issues at the quarterback position.
Got to figure it out. All right, well, the Toronto Maple Leafs begin a 5-game homestand tonight against the Wild.
Stanley tracking him. Robertson back across. Scores!
Leafs coming off an overtime win against the Jets on Saturday and have picked up at least a point in 9 of their last 10 games. The team is 1 point behind the Buffalo Sabres for the second wildcard spot. Puck drop at 7:30.
Okay, well, a dream come true for a young Leafs fan through the Make-A-Wish program. CTV's Raheem Ladani reports the 10-year-old got to present his hockey hero, Austin Matthews, with special gifts that he designed himself.
This is the moment Liam has been working towards for over a year, hanging out with his hockey idol, Toronto Maple Leafs captain Austin Matthews.
I was very excited and happy to meet him for a second time.
I know he's been dreaming of this moment for a really long time. Austin Matthews is incredible. It's his hero.
You see, Liam loves hockey. He gets on the ice whenever he can, though it's sometimes challenging living with cystic fibrosis. He was first diagnosed with the respiratory disorder at 3 weeks old.
At the time, we had no clue that we were carriers of it. So it was really scary for me. But I mean, as you can see, he's grown up to be an amazing little boy.
And Dina's amazing 10-year-old is also selfless. And this is where Make-A-Wish Canada comes in. Known for creating life-changing wishes for children diagnosed with critical illnesses, the organization asked Liam what he wants. But instead of a vacation or a new toy, Liam wished for the chance to design custom skates and stick for the Leafs captain.
It just reminded me of Austin Matthews, and I wanted to be like him one day.
His heart is so full. He would literally give you the shirt off his back. So it doesn't surprise me that he wanted to do something special for his hero, Austin.
With the help of a custom designer from Calgary, Liam drew some of Matthews' favorite things.
The Toronto Maple Leafs, Austin Matthews' dog, and Carlton the bear.
I was supposed to use them as inspiration. When I saw the drawings, I was like, I'm just going to reproduce the exact drawing, and that's what's going to go on the skate.
After Liam gifted Austin Matthews with the custom pair of skates and stick, Liam was then surprised with a replica version of both just for him. And these skates are also signed by Matthews himself. Is there anything he said to you that was really special?
yeah, he'll try to get as much goals as he can possibly for me.
And as Matthews tries to follow through on his promise, he'll be keeping Liam's favorite saying in mind.
Never give up.
Raheem Ladani, CTV News.
It's 5:59 -9. This is Toronto's breaking news, CP24.
Thanks for watching. CTV News at 6 is next.